Hey guys, I'm going to try to keep this reasonably brief. This is a response video to a series of comments, particularly one comment that was made in my comment section of my latest video in reference to a generalization I made. Now, in the past, I've said numerous times that when we speak of a group, we are, of course, making a generalization, and not each and every individual falls into that generalization. That is to say, if I say women are less loyal than men, that doesn't mean, and there's no implication in that statement, unless you're a flaming idiot, to think that Stardust or anyone else who makes a statement along those lines is saying each and every woman in the entire world is less loyal than each and every man. This is nonsense. This is rank nonsense. And nobody, neither credentialed social science academics nor lay people who are engaged in this kind of work, nobody quantifies every sentence with a word along the lines of most or the majority of. I mean, you certainly can do that, but every time you make a statement about some group, there's somehow necessitated. And this is, of course, a form of political correctness. This gentleman was offended by some of the statements I made, and he cited the fact that he has a female friend who hates shopping and the fact that he's not the typical male. Well, to that I might reply, do you want some milk and some cookies with that? Good for you. I myself am not the typical male. I never have been. I've always been more verbally gifted than I've been technically. That is to say, my skills are more communication-oriented than they are spatially oriented. But there we go. I'm an exception. I've never been interested in cars or repairing things or fixing things and so on and so forth. Even my interest in weightlifting is more intellectual than it is sort of physical. So I'm an exception. Now, when you talk about a group, there are going to be people that fall within the distribution curve, fall to the right of it, fall to the left of it. This is normal. But it's the people who make up the average, the majority. That's when we talk about a group of people, and that's when we make generalizations. Now, the odd thing is this gentleman was personally offended by the statements I made, clearly by his ire and his indignant sentences that he wrote down there. Should I be offended when people say men enjoy competitive sports, even though I've never enjoyed that? I guess I should be personally offended. More importantly, I know not just one, but I know several females that hate shopping. I even know two females, off the top of my head, that play competitive PvP shooters online and are pretty good at it. Stop the presses, people. Stop the presses. Our entire world picture has changed. Everything has changed now. We found some exceptions. I guess we should inform Maybelline and L'Oreal and The Gap and H&M and tell them, look, this gentleman has a friend who hates shopping, and I know a couple of women who hate shopping too. They have to change their policies to reflect that. Clearly, a statement such as women consume a lot more than men is wrong, even though every stat you look at across the board, be it in the West or in affluent Asian countries, shows you that women make up about 60 to 80%, somewhere between 60 and 80% of consumption culture, independent of culture across the globe. Independent of individual culture. Hey, but there are exceptions. This guy has a friend who hates shopping, and she's female, and I know females who hate shopping. Let's all stop. I mean, this is a kind of politically correct indignation that is completely misplaced. It's irrelevant. If you want your milk and cookies for feeling offended, go buy them yourself. I've never once been offended as a very atypical male, and I'm not even speaking as a man going his own way. Someone who's never been interested in cars, fixing things, organized sports. Someone who's worked in the majority of my career up until now had been in teaching and translation, fields that have, sorry to say, a majority. That is to say, women teach more often and translate more often than men. When I was working in my translation office, I was surrounded by women with the exception of one gay male. Same with the courses I did. Was I offended by saying statements along the lines of women women are more spatially communication oriented and men are more spatially oriented, even though I'm the opposite as a male? Of course not. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And this is, of course, what defines PC culture. Some sort of anecdotal example is supposed to be the knockdown argument against every generalization that's backed up by masses of data out there. What do the data tell us? Well, in regards to saying to this issue of shopping, as I said, look up any stat online about female consumption, buying junk basically, buying products, makeup, clothing, tchotchkes, baubles, and you will see that women do a lot more of it than men. Your female friend that hates shopping, to the contrary notwithstanding, as well as the women I know who don't like shopping, to the contrary notwithstanding. I'm addressing this not because I think this gentleman made particularly good arguments, but because it's really laughable when people take personal offense and then use it to try to counter an apt generalization. Now, what are the data suggesting that women are less loyal than men? Well, we can look at not just one instance of war brides, although World War II is very prominent. We can look at other instances throughout history. We can and most importantly, we can look at the divorce statistics, which are ubiquitous across the globe, independent of individual cultures. It's happening in Indonesia. It's happening in Japan, in South Korea, in China, in the United States and Canada, yada, yada, Europe, everywhere across Europe. Women hold the majority placeholder in terms of divorce. Women divorce more often than men. Absolute statement? No, it is a generalization that's based on data, and these data support that statement. Look up any stat on divorce. Women initiate divorce the vast majority of the time. What follows from that? Well, for one, that they're not particularly loyal in comparison to men. If women are more willing to initiate divorce more often than men, that means that they are less loyal than men. Does that mean, once again, that each and every woman who out there is less loyal than each and every man? Of course not. And only, as I said, a flaming idiot or an indignant PC fool is going to actually take it along those lines. This is the PC brigade. And quite frankly, I'm shocked that I have someone in my, apparently, who's subbed or at least watches my videos who's so infected with political correctness. As you know, if there's anything out there that I can't stand, it's political correctness. The world doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care that you're an exception to some rule, that you perhaps, in this case, fall to the left of the distribution curve. What matters is what is statistically significant. And before there's a misunderstanding, people often misunderstand statistically significant within the context of statistics. That simply means not random. That is to say, it's not random that so many more women pursue shopping and tchotchke consumption than do men, just as it's not random that so many more men pursue sports competition, organized sports competition, than do women. The world doesn't care about your feelings, and the world doesn't operate, the mechanisms by which the world operates. I mean, these are also not germane to your feelings. This is just PCism on your part. It's irrelevant. I've never once been offended by a generalization that didn't apply to me. Why? Because I know what a generalization is if it's backed up by good data. And citing, one or two exceptions is not a knockdown argument against the data that are presented. Should I go by my experience with two females who play PvP online shooters who are good at it and say, well, no, clearly we have to change our perception of PvP shooters because there's so many women involved? Of course not. That's simply not the case. So I would suggest to you, if you like political correctness and all that garbage, you should unsubscribe. I am one of the least politically correct people out there. I don't care about your feelings. And frankly, I don't even care about my own feelings. I care about what's accurate and I care about what's true. Now, if you can present mass statistical data suggesting, for example, that most females don't engage in the vast majority of consumer activity, consumption of crap, basically. feel free. I'll look at it, and if I'm wrong about consumption, mass consumption, then I will correct myself and admit to that. Likewise with divorce initiation, in terms of who's more loyal in these situations. I'm not talking about each and every woman. And I mean, quite frankly, you almost sound like a female being offended by some comment because you think that a comment about the general female populace somehow applies to you. It doesn't. I wasn't even talking to you. Now, maybe you'll take from this a lesson, an intellectual lesson, in that you shouldn't be offended by general statements, because as much as you're accusing me of being just like the feminists, that's what, I hate to say it, feminist, left-winged, politically correct people tend to do. They just take it as a personal offense. The world is not there to mollycoddle you. It's not there to offend you either. It simply is. And we seek to understand on its own terms, independent of people's hurt feelings or not. So my suggestion to you is, take that to mind, take that to heart. Don't, in any event, go buy your cookies and your milk for being special and different. Have a nice day.